Welcome to our summer reading challenge that our family does. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do because people have kind of been asking, and just kind of show you what we picked for this summer. So the first thing that we do is every year since the kids were little, we have done a reading challenge. In years past, we've participated in our library summer reading program, but we've noticed over the last few years that the prizes that you get are a little young for my kids nowadays. Now that my kids are a lot older, it's not much motivation for them. So we came up with our own summer reading challenge. So I'm going to run down a little bit what we do. We have this sheet here. It's our reading challenge. So there's prizes at different levels. So with 2 books finished, you get to be the one to pick a family movie night. 4 books is we go to our favorite ice cream place. It's called Ted and Wally's. It's local, and every day they have new flavors, and it's all homemade. 6 books, you get to go out on a special dinner date with both of us parents, so with mom and dad. 8 books, even though my kids are teens, they still love Lego minifigures, so that's a motivating reward for them. So if you read 8 books, you get a Lego minifigure. In 10 books, you get 2 hours of video games. And I should probably explain this too. Normally during the school year, my kids only get 2 hours of video games on Fridays, and they have to earn them, and they can lose them. And that's all they get for the week. And in the summertime, we do no screen time. So starting June 1st to the end of August, we do no screen time. And so this is something that motivates them a lot as a big prize to get their 2 hours of video games at least some point during the summer. So that's why that's our 10-book challenge. Then at the bottom here, we have prizes for whoever has read the most total books for the summer too. So first place gets 2 additional hours of video games. Second place gets 1 hour of video games. Third place gets an additional 30 minutes. And then fourth place gets a new nice bookmark and a candy bar of their choice. So it's kind of the honorable mention, but it's something fun that they can do. And already they laugh about it every time, they joke about it. And they're, razzing each other on, I'm not getting the candy bar and the bookmark. So it just makes it fun. So then we each have our own sheet here. Okay. So the first one here, we write out read alouds that we intend on reading for the summer. And then I have my list too. But we overschedule because we know we're not going to finish all these books. I mean, there's like 30 books on those 2 lists. There's no way we're going to finish all of those. But whatever we don't finish during the school year or during the summer will carry over into the school year. And the reason we overschedule is because that way we're not kind of sitting around thinking, oh, what book do we want to read now? And it's already been planned out in advance. So it just makes it easy to go straight to the list and pick something off the list. And then each of the kids has their own list. And I usually pick about 5 books, sometimes more if there's really good options out there that I think they would like. But I will pick 5 books for them, and then they go back and they pick the rest of their own books. And, you can always add. So, like, my 13-year-old list is not super long, but he's got a couple big books on there. And so they might take them a little longer, but you can always add to the list. If you finish all the books on your list, then we just go find some more books. So that's kind of how the list looks. So all of our lists will end up hanging up on the wall, and we'll check them off as we go and just keep track that way. So the books are all planned out. I think I think my 13-year-old still has a couple he wants to pick. Some of the struggles we have in picking books is like my oldest, who is about to be 17 in just a couple weeks, and a senior and going into a senior in high school, is that he really likes science fiction books and like the end of world type books and stuff. And so the problem with that is we have, we're Christian homeschool, and a lot of science fiction books, unfortunately, have inappropriate content in it. And so in the past, I will look up as many reviews about books and, pre-read as much as I can about books, but science fiction not being my big genre to go to, I have to do a little more research. And I'm also trying to help him learn how to research so that he can figure out on his own, as he's turning into an adult here, how to pick and choose things that he knows are good for his moral compass. So we have, some of the books that we chose are for him so far is, he likes the creepy factor, he likes the science fiction. So Brave New World, Dracula, The House of Seven Gables, and Heart of Darkness. So Time Machine, some of those older science fiction type books right now. So we're still working on his list a little bit. So that's a little bit about how our process works. And the kids get excited about doing this. And I have, at the end of done with my explanation here, I have an introduction to each of the kids' pile of books and why they kind of chose those books. But a little bit of history about our family too. Well, not about our family, I guess, but about the way we choose books is we have a lot of resources. I was an English major. I did not complete my degree in college because, well, life happened. I got married and then we had kids. And so, but books and literature is really my passion. If you could see my house, and that packages arrive very frequently on my front door that have books in them. Everybody knows me knows that books are a big part of our life, and my life especially. But I even love books that list books. So some of our favorite resources for finding books, and first I'm going to direct you to the couple great books about why we read aloud and why it's important to read aloud to your kids, no matter their age. You can read aloud to babies, and you can read aloud to teenagers and beyond. And my family, it's part of our lifestyle. And even when my kids are grown-ups, I hope we still get together and read books together because it's just part of our family dynamic. So a great book is the Read Aloud Handbook by Jim Treleases. And I never know if I say his name right, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. And it has so much good information on why it's important to read aloud, how to do it. If you've never read aloud before and you want to start that, this is a great resource. Another one that we use is the Read Aloud Family by Sarah Mackenzie. And both of those are great resources on just why it's important. Sarah Mackenzie also is on Instagram, and she is in charge of the Read Aloud Revival website and on Instagram. So if you want to follow them, you can. It's Read Aloud Revival. But other books that we use to help us kind of pick books. I'm on Goodreads all the time, so I'm constantly looking at other people's picks and suggestions and stuff and kind of researching there too. But this is a great book. It's Books That Build Character. And it breaks it down by age and by category and topic and gives you a synopsis about the book. So we use that one. A Book Lover's Guide to Great Reading. Again, it breaks it down. It gives you lists of books and kind of a general idea about that book. Other great ones for kids especially is Gladys Hunt's Honey for a Child's Heart. Again, same thing, but her introduction, she talks about different story types, and but in the rest of the book is just lists of books by title, and then gives a little description of those. And then because I have teens and, you know, obviously kids grow up, Gladys Hunt also has Honey for a Teen's Heart. And then I also just kind of surf online, and I have had a couple other books I've gotten from the library before that I've made lists out of. I print lists off the internet, like other readers, like must reads before you die kind of lists. And, you know, a lot of these aren't going to make the cut for my kids because a lot of them are not appropriate, but it gives me something to kind of go off of. And then this, I mean, this should tell you how much of a nut for reading and books and literature I am, because I believe I got this book from our school district. I was public schooled, but from our school district when I was in 8th or 9th grade, and I still have it. So it's recommended literature for primary, intermediate, junior high, and high school. And that's all it is lists of books by age. And I have kept this for, I'm not going to tell you how long, but for a lot of years. So I use that as well. I had a question from someone about what we did when the kids were little about reading aloud and getting them to read. Well, you know, incentives are great, rewards are great, but we really, before the kids really started reading independently, we read aloud just all the time, book after book, and we would sit individually, like I would sit with each kid individually and we'd read a book that they wanted, or we would read group, you know, books. And when my kids were really little, but even now, sometimes they don't want to just sit there and stare at me while I'm reading. So a lot of times they will draw, and they've always drawn, or they used to color in coloring books, or sometimes they would bring down a bucket of Legos and they would quietly build with Legos. But yeah, drawing is a big thing in our house. My kids are really into art, so that, and my daughter has started kind of knitting every once in a while, so she'll do something with her hands to keep her hands busy, and they actually listen a lot better when they're busy doing something like that. Another way to really introduce read alouds with your family is food. Food always helps. Make it a special time. A lot of people do tea time where they will actually, you know, make tea and cookies or something like that. But we have done a lot of snacks, treats, cookies. Popcorn's always a big thing, to make some popcorn and sit down and read, especially in the wintertime. You know, you snuggle up under a blanket, everybody's under blankets, and we pop some popcorn and we sit down and read. I actually have, to show you how important food is, but to make it fun too, a lot of the times when we're reading aloud books in the school year, we will do activities after that book is done, like, for instance, Little House on the Prairie, the books, Farmer Boy. When we read Farmer Boy, I actually have the Little House on the Prairie cookbook. So we would, as we went through Farmer Boy, we would find some of the Farmer Boy recipes in the cookbook and we would make those. And I actually have, I'm looking right now, 3 literary cookbooks, and they are ones that actually go with children's literature too. 2 of them are. And it is recipes that have been made into a book from some of your favorite books, like Winnie the Pooh and Anne of Green Gables, and it's just kind of fun to take something from that book and do it yourself. So sometimes there's crafts. I actually have the Little House on the Prairie craft book too. So there's lots of things you can do to make it interactive. And as your kids get older, like my kids, 3 of them are teenagers now, you can have them read a chapter. And don't discount audiobooks. I mean, if you really don't like to read aloud all the time, mix it up. Pick some audiobooks too, because audiobooks are great. We use audiobooks in the car when we go on road trips. We always hit the library first and pick 2 or 3 audiobooks of books we haven't read yet. And we listen to that while the kids draw, and it keeps us busy, and we get a book under our belts at the same time. So there's a lot of things you can do with reading aloud and getting kids involved and interested. And I'm just checking my notes to make sure I covered all the questions that people had. Let's see. yeah, I think I covered everything. But if you ever have any questions, I would love for you to reach out and feel free to message me because I'd love to answer questions. As you can see, I'm pretty passionate about what we read and making reading part of my kids' lives. Now, I can tell you for sure, this year, my kids are 17, 15 and a half, 13, and 11. So as they get older, the picks obviously change and the attitudes change, and obviously are a little busier since two of my two oldest work. And so scheduling time to get their reading in is a little harder, especially since we're on the go and busy. But I just want my kids to grow up having reading as an important part of their life. So that's my goal. And my 15-year-old is a reluctant reader, and I talk about that a little bit when I show you the picks after this. So I hope I answered your guys' questions. I hope you guys can figure out some fun ways to read aloud with your family and to do a reading challenge and get everybody involved. And check out your local library, especially with younger kids. A lot of libraries do reading challenges in the summer, so like a summer reading program, and they usually have prizes and stuff. So don't discount that. It worked great for us over the years, but since they've gotten older, like I said, the prizes are just a little too young for my kids. So anyways, thank you for joining me, and like I said, feel free to reach out and ask me any questions you guys have. These are the books that we've chosen for our read alouds, and we don't always just pick what's right in my kids' age range. We just pick books that sound fun. They could be younger, they could be older, but usually we just pick books that we haven't read by ourselves yet. And so our read alouds this year, we have Wind in the Willows, The Door in the Wall, Silver Chair, House of Dystra, White Fang, The Call of the Wild, Frightful's Mountain, Adventures of Huck Finn, Heidi, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, The Borrowers, The Last of the Really Great Whangdoodles, Little House on the Prairie, The Trumpet of the Swan, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Swallows and the Amazons, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and Swiss Family Robinson. Now these books are ones that we have been excited to read and we own but haven't read together yet. We know that we won't finish all of these books, but it's a good start, and like I said earlier, they will carry over into our fall read alouds. These are the books that I have currently picked for my almost 17-year-old. He is currently a junior in high school. He will be a senior next year. He has not, this does not include the books that he will add to the list. I think I mentioned earlier that he's really into science fiction and space books, and we just are still researching those because some of them have a lot of inappropriate content. But the ones I've currently picked for him is The House of Seven Gables, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, The Time Machine, A Passage to India, and Brave New World. These are the books that I have currently picked for my 15-year-old. He is in 9th grade, going into 10th, and he started reading To Kill a Mockingbird for school at the end of this school year, and so he's going to finish that. He is my reluctant reader. He really does not like reading, and so we kind of struggle a little bit with finding books that interest him. We try to find books that have a lot of action, and even though he's quite a bit older for initially reading the Harry Potter series, since he's a reluctant reader, he loves Harry Potter, but reading the books, he struggles with wanting to sit there and do that. I've also included a couple books that we will get from the library that are baseball-oriented books because he's very passionate about baseball. But these are the ones we currently have on his list. And again, he will be adding to these. These are just the ones that I've kind of chosen for him. So we have To Kill a Mockingbird. We have The Maze Runner, Book 4, The Kill Order. He
has just recently started the 4th Harry Potter, The Goblet of Fire. And then the last 4, The Winter War, The Prince Warriors, and The Swords of Rima, and Unseen Invasion. They're all part of the Prince Warrior series that was recommended to us and he got for Christmas this year. So he's been trying those out. It's about knights and that time period. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, these are the ones we've picked for my 15-year-old reluctant reader. These are the books that I have chosen for, and he's chosen some of these. My 13-year-old son, he loves to read, and he's into fantasy type books. And so he finished the first Lord of the Rings for school this year, and he really enjoyed it. And so we have The Two Towers, the second book. And he also has read the whole Hunger Games series recently. And this, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is a prequel that just came out not too long ago. And so he is working on that. He likes the Peter and the Starcatcher series he got for Christmas this year. One of the books is not in our pile currently, but it is, we do have that. And so he's going to read that series. And he's going to start out with the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because, like I said, he likes fantasy and interesting things like that. And if he likes that, then I'm sure he will add the others from that series as well. But again, these are just starts, but this is the starting point for my 13-year-old son. This stack of books is for my 11-year-old daughter. I actually have a much easier time helping her choose books because she loves to read like me. She has a lot of the same interests as me. And so a lot of these books are ones that I loved as a girl. And so I have a little bit of an easier time choosing books with her. And so far, every book that I've ever chosen for her, she just gushes over. So that excites me and wants me to have her read more of the books that I loved. So I have a little bit of easier time choosing books for her than I do the boys sometimes. But the ones that we have on her list right now is Bridge to Terabithia, the second Anne of Green Gables book, which is Anne of Avonlea, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, Julie of the Wolves, Island of the Blue Dolphins, Black Beauty, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, The Rescuers, Sarah Plain and Tall, The Witch of Blackbird Pond, My Friend Flicka, and The Birchbark House. We have a lot more horse stories like National Velvet and things like that are in the house, and that she will probably add to her list if she gets through these books. But those are the ones we are starting with for her. And she is my 11-year-old daughter going into 6th grade.